of those you're traveling.
Problems. Nobody likes problems.
We apologize for the delay.
But why is that?
Don't be afraid.
At IBM, problems actually inspire us to fix things, to change things, to push the world forward.
And liftoff.
Which is why so many people who dare to take on problems work with IBM every step of the way.
You got it.
Please welcome to the stage Global Managing Partner, IBM Services, Paul Pappas.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I am super, super excited to be here, and I'm super excited that my picture is no longer on the screen, so we're off to a good start. We've got a great super session for you today, so I hope you're all equally excited. We've got clients coming up in a little bit. We've got videos. We've got thought leadership to share with you. We've got demos. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. And probably the best part, if everyone behaves, at the end of the session, there's free snacks. When in doubt, feed the crowd. Always works to your advantage. So listen, I don't know about all of you, thank you for coming. I think this has been, so far, the best Dreamforce ever. And just by show of hands, how many people have been here more than once? Yeah, most of the room. So like me, I'm sure you are all seeing just a ton of change going on in the world itself, but a ton of change going on with Salesforce. In fact, not only do we see them changing as a company, we see them changing their platform. Every year, it seems they're expanding their capabilities. I would say that today, I don't consider Salesforce just a customer success platform. I would say today, Salesforce is a business success platform. We see Salesforce implemented and integrated into every large-scale transformation we're doing with every one of our clients all around the world. And we are super proud to be one of Salesforce's largest and fastest-growing partners, operating in every geography that we do as a company. And we study this. In fact, this year we published our eighth annual State of Salesforce study. It's our biggest and best. I think there was something like 200,000 data points that we analyzed, over 2,000 customers that we analyzed that use Salesforce, and it gives you everything you need to know about exactly where the platform is, how leading companies are using it to really fundamentally differentiate. But it's not just about Salesforce changing. We see change going on all around the world, and we've been seeing this for a really long time. In fact, if I had to analyze the last couple of years, what I would say that we've been seeing is something called outside-in reinvention. So clients starting with customer experience, and if I had to pick one word to describe this reinvention, it would be exploration. So they started with a view on customer. How do we transform customer experience? And clients have tried a lot of different innovations to see what was going to work, what was going to have an impact, and then ultimately trying to promote and scale what ultimately did prove successful for them. A lot of great small projects. But now, while they're also doing outside-in reinvention, we're seeing a new phenomenon take hold, and it's inside-out reinvention. And this one is really exciting, this one is really scary, and this one is really hard. Because this is about transforming a company top to bottom and front to back. This is transforming the way the company fundamentally works, the way it operates with its business partners, the way it operates with its customers, and the way it operates internally. This is changing everything in the supply chain, in operations, in finance, in HR, in legal, and what makes this even more exciting is it doesn't get to happen in a vacuum. This happens while we're doing outside-in reinvention. So if one of these was hard enough, now we have to do them both. We have to do them both concurrently, and we have to do them both in an integrated way. So what does this mean for the companies that we work with? The stakes are higher than ever. Their investments are bigger than ever. And it's a really, really scary proposition. And when you're doing something big and you're doing something bold, you need partners that you can trust. And we're so proud to be one of Salesforce's, like as I mentioned, largest and fastest growing partners in this ecosystem. We're proud that our clients put their trust in us to help them transform their businesses, because this is a very, very big journey. So let's go to the next slide. And this journey that they're on is what we refer to as the journey to building a smarter business. And the end state of this journey is building something really exciting that we call the cognitive enterprise. And a cognitive enterprise has multiple layers to it and multiple components to it. And we've listed some of them here. We talk about this concept of, in the future, a cognitive enterprise operates platform business models. These are not just tech platforms, these are the business models that the company uses to actually transform the value proposition that it has, the services and offerings and products that it provides to its customers, fundamentally transforms the way it works, so intelligent workflows, so reimagining the way that work gets done through the use of what we call exponential technologies, AI, blockchain, quantum computing, all transforming the fundamental way that work is done. And that introduces this concept of human-technology partnerships. This takes real thought to figure out how the technology, particularly technologies like AI, augment human intelligence. They don't replace human intelligence, they augment human intelligence. And when we do that, we have to figure out how to bring all these technologies and intelligent workflows to life in a way that makes sense. And we have to start thinking about what we call enterprise experience. An enterprise experience is really bringing the concept of human experience inside of a company, inside every single process that a company has. So how do you take human experience and make these processes smarter, augment human capability, and do this in a seamless way that just adds a ton of value? So it's a little exciting, it's a little scary, it's a lot of work. We see all of our clients doing this, and at the end of the day, none of these transformations can happen if you don't have a sound grounding in the data that's required in order to enable all of these workflows and inform human decisions and inform the human experiences that we're trying to provide to all of our clients. And that data is both inside the organization and outside the organization, capturing it, synthesizing it, integrating it, cleansing it, preparing it, and then rendering it useful as part of these intelligent workflows, as part of these modern business platforms, is an incredible challenge for all of our clients. And we see this happening, again, across all of our geographies and all of the industries that we're operating in. And it's not just our work that we do with clients that informs this point of view that we've developed on building a cognitive enterprise. We've also done some great thought leadership. We just announced, right coming into Dreamforce this week, our latest C-suite study. This is the 20th in the series that we've published. We interviewed over 13,000 C-suite executives. So I just want to make a fine point here because it's a little important. A lot of times you see like thought leadership and it's a survey. People mail out something, you do it, you send an email out and you get a certain response rate. These are live interviews that we send out, our consultants, to go meet with our senior clients, the C-suite executives, to get information on how they're operating, what they're seeing going on in the world, and where are they placing their big bets for the future? How are they going to make themselves successful? It's fascinating to get their research. It's fascinating to get their feedback and all of their commentary that we synthesize into this report. And again, this is the 20th in the series. And while we talked to so many different clients, as I mentioned, 13,000 of them, one thing that came out as the single differentiating factor that determines whether a company is successful or fails, and that's trust. Trust is the single biggest factor that determines whether or not you are successful or whether you fail. It's something that takes years to build and seconds to destroy. So we've probed further on this because we thought this was fascinating, and we saw that trust was linked to the data that people have in order that they can inform decisions and have confidence and build that trust. But then we further analyzed trust across 3 different dimensions. Trust that you build with your customers, and this is something that I'm personally passionate about. So how do you build trust with customers? You do it with transparency. You make sure that they understand, they have clarity on what you're doing. You do it through reciprocity, and you do it through accountability. So are you transparent in all your interactions? So are they clear on what you're doing and what decisions you're making on their behalf? Is the relationship reciprocal? You get a benefit from your customers. Do they get the same benefit from you? And is there equity? Do you have equilibrium to build that trust with them? And are you accountable? Customers entrust us with so much of their personal information. Are we accountable to them to protect and safeguard that information and make sure that we never use it in a way that's not in their best interest? That was a key component of trust. The second thing was within companies themselves, building trust with our employees. One part of that is the data that our employees use to make decisions that inform all the actions that they're taking. And with the rise of AI supplementing those decisions, can companies trust and can employees trust that, one, the use of that technology is in their best interest, that we're being genuine with that use of technology, and 2, are we informing those decisions in a way that they can trust that they're making the right decision, that they have access to how the algorithms work and how the data is worked to uncover any potential bias that's in those and eliminate that bias. And the last place of trust is with partners. Transformations today are so complicated. If you think you can go it alone, God bless you. I think it would be absolutely insane. All of our clients recognize this. They're looking for trusted partners, and they're looking across their industry ecosystems. And when they're trying to build trust with their industry partners, There's an exchange of data. They're giving up something that they value and hold really near, but the hope is that they could all share things and then create something bigger than if they tried to go it alone. Let's go to the next slide. So I mentioned a whole bunch of stuff there. I threw it at you really fast. I apologize. I'm a native New Yorker. I talk fast by nature. I had about 18 cups of coffee this morning, so I'm even more excited. I've got great clients coming up here, so I'm even more excited. I've got snacks, and I love snacks, so I'm going to be really thankful when this is over so I could go eat some great snacks. But let's just do a quick recap. So we talked about outside-in reinvention, inside-out reinvention, trying to do it all together, build a smarter business, make yourself a cognitive enterprise. The stakes are higher, the bets are bigger, the investments are greater. You have to do all of that. Oh, by the way, you have to do it faster than you've ever done it before, and there's no time to lose. We got you. We got this covered. And you're going to hear some great examples of how we're doing this in real time. But one way that we've developed inside of IBM to help our clients actually do this, innovate with scale and speed and with trust that they could actually get the business outcomes that they're seeking, it's what we call the IBM Garage. And the IBM Garage lets you co-create, cooperate, co-execute the future vision of your company. And you're going to hear some real-world examples with clients that we're doing this with today. And if while you're here you want to see an example of this, we have an IBM Garage set up in Dream Park, and you could also visit our booth on the main show floor. So with that, I'm actually going to take a pause. I'm going to catch my breath. We're going to bring up our first client from Frito-Lay in just a minute. But before we bring them up, we're going to show a quick video.
So what makes Frito-Lay unique is that we have that end-to-end system that delivers a wide variety of snacks that our consumers love. That has been the secret sauce for Frito-Lay, and we're not going to lose that. So the next big digital move for Frito-Lay is being able to take the technology that we use in the front line to understand what to put in a store, where to put it in a store, how to make sure the customer gets exactly what they want and the shopper gets exactly what they want.
When we look at what capabilities are coming to our massive scale operation on how we deliver Salesforce capabilities to our front line, we get ahead of that with our IBM Garage team.
Frito-Lay is embracing change. They know that in order to keep the competitive advantage that they have to continue to transform and innovate. At the heart of IBM Garage is the ability to deliver agile. Agile for transformation and agile for innovation.
We had to bring in our associates and have them co-design it with us, along with the experts from IBM, Salesforce, to design an application that right from the very first time it was deployed could be useful to delight our shoppers, delight our consumers, delight our employees, and delight the managers who have to run our business day in and day out. And the best way to delight our consumers is to give them precisely what they want, when they want it, with the best tasting snacks in America.
All right, so please join me in welcoming Michael Lindsay, Chief Transformation and Strategy Officer, Frito-Lay North America, and Courtney Knoll, the Global Leader of IBM Garage and IBM iX. Fantastic, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
I am already starving, as I mentioned before, so thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome for the snack. So you have to hold on till the end, but everyone here gets snacks if you hold on just a little bit longer.
Just to be clear, when we were rehearsing this during the week, the group was afraid that I was going to show up with orange dust all over me because I'd be eating during the entire time, so they've carefully secured them in the back of the room. So, Michael, let's start with you. When I think of Frito-Lay, I think of leadership, I think of innovation. You've innovated so many different products. There's so many people here from around the world that have grown up eating your products. Yeah. Just by way of hands, well, not actually by way of hands, just acknowledge it to yourself. Which Frito-Lay product is your favorite? I'm a Cool Ranch Dorito person, just in case you know. So maybe next year what we'll do is I'll have everyone wear their brand and like their favorite product. But tell us a little bit about Frito-Lay's history.
So first of all, hold on for Super Bowl for Cool Ranch. So I can't say any more than that. It's confidential. This wasn't planned, but watch the Super Bowl.
I am all in. I am all in on this.
So Frito-Lay is an 85-year-old company, right? So we are the largest snacking company in the world. We've got about 30 brands, so it would be fun to do the test to see who all can, name a lot of them. So you have your good classics. You have Cheetos and Doritos and Lay's, Fritos. You've got smaller brands, Off the Eaten Path, Bear. We make Cracker Jacks. There's a good chance that if it's a snack that you love, that we're the company behind it. We've been doing that now for a long time. We've launched entirely new brands over time. We started with the merger of Lay's and Fritos 85 years ago, and since then we've launched about 15 new brands, and 6 of them now are over $1 billion, and then we have a large number of brands that are also $100 million plus.
Wow, fantastic. And I'm so glad we moved the microphone up on my shirt because my stomach is grumbling whenever we talk about this. But you talked a lot there. You talked about so many different brands and a lot of innovation. Talk to us a little bit of how Frito-Lay is innovating today.
Yeah, so today we have to fundamentally change the entire way that we operate, because one of the things, and I think we might talk about this a little bit later, but it was mentioned in the video, Frito-Lay runs a very unique model, right? So we actually have the largest, what we call DSD, direct store delivery system in the country. So we literally control everything from the seeds for the potatoes that are grown for potato chips for Lay's, through where they're manufactured, where they're held, distributed, all the way to the truck, to the person who puts them on the shelf. So this is a massive, complex operation. But the world's changing really quickly around us, right? So if you think about those 30 brands, we started off with a business that was 4 or 5 big brands, 4 or 5 SKUs per brand of flavors. Now we're up to 1,200 items that we sell, right, across the 30 brands, flavors, pack sizes, every combination you can imagine. But we still run that same system of we have 25,000 associates out in the field visiting 315,000 stores every week, 500,000 visits a week, trying to put those products on the shelf. Right, so as that complexity has gotten larger and larger, we have to fundamentally reinvent the way that we think about managing and running that business.
Yeah, it's fantastically complex, that seed-to-store integrated value chain. I had no idea how complicated that was. It's amazing that you're able to do that. But you talked a lot about changing consumer demand. So how do you keep track of all of that? How do you maintain, how do you stay ahead of where customer experience is going, what consumers want to experience, and then transform the business to meet that?
Yeah, it's a fundamental challenge, right? Because you think about the variety that consumers want to consume today is just exponentially higher than it ever was in the past. Yeah. Right, so I lived overseas for about 6-7 years, and when I left the US, there was no such thing as a chickpea snack. There was 1 or 2 meat snacks available, jerky, and that was about it. There were no vegetables, no kale chips, no banana chips. I come back and it's this absolute explosion of variety because you have a majority minority population these days. You've got a whole generation that's coming up looking for non-GMO, for organic, and then you still have folks who want the traditional Cool Ranch and nacho cheese Doritos. So you have this massive variety that consumers expect, and at the same time, you also have a whole bunch of new ubiquity. Where they want to buy it, how they want to buy it has completely changed as well too, right? So you think about people want to buy a click and collect. They want to order online, pick it up at the front of the store, or they want to order online, have it delivered to them. They want to have their Uber driver have snacks in the back of the car available for purchase. Yeah. There's a whole range of new purchase opportunities that we never had to manage before. So you think about, we have to then manage all that complexity, new products, new ways of service. And so what we've done with Salesforce is we've actually implemented a whole series of solutions, 3 different solutions, right? One, make sure that those 25,000 employees that I mentioned have at their fingertips the information about what should be in the store, right? Using all the data that we have about consumers. Data sits at the foundation of all of it. What should be in the store? What's the perfect assortment? Who's shopping there? What do they want to buy? How do I set the store the right way? How do I then manage that over time? What's the right next task to drive to delight that shopper and that consumer? We then have to also use Salesforce for those key account teams who are selling at the higher levels into our key customers, right? Traditional CRM to manage the relationships with a Walmart, with a Kroger, with our large customers. And then we also use Salesforce for our direct B2B e-commerce. So we run a direct e-commerce site at Frito-Lay, a relatively large one that's growing pretty quickly. It's all built on the back of Commerce Cloud as well, so that we can actually sell directly to smaller businesses who may not need the direct service of a DSD system.
So safe to say, not that much going on at Frito-Lay.
Not much. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, pretty easy. You sleep in most days.
Most days.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you talked a lot of complexity there. You talked about the role of Salesforce. What about the scale? Because complexity is one thing, but complexity at scale is a completely different thing.
It's unbelievable. It's what we call precision at scale, because most people don't realize Frito-Lay, or PepsiCo in North America, of which Frito-Lay is about 60%, runs the single largest fleet in America. So we run more trucks and more cars than UPS, than FedEx, than any other fleet in America.
Just pause there. How many people knew that?
Almost.
Right? No one.
We're the second largest buyer.
The Frito-Lay employees knew that.
I was going to say, there should be a few over there.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating to me.
So largest fleet in America, again, 25,000 employees, 500,000 store visits every single week. We're the second largest buyer of potatoes in the world after McDonald's. So McDonald's has us beat by a little bit, but we'll catch them. It's a massive, large, we run 30 plants across the country, 30 manufacturing sites, 200 distribution centers, and again, half a million visits every single week. So the distributed nature of our business is critical, but every single store that we walk into is different from every other store, right? So you think about what you want to buy on a neighborhood. The 7-Eleven that's down the street here looks quite different from the Walgreens that may be 1 block over in terms of who's shopping there, what they want to buy, where they expect to find it, what brand should be on the shelf. Trying to execute that level of micro-market granularity and then doing it at scale is an immense challenge, and you frankly can't do it without technology.
Yeah.
So that's been our mantra, is we want to embrace that complexity. That's a lot of complexity in the system. But rather than try to simplify the complexity out of the system, our mantra is we're going to embrace that complexity and use it for a competitive advantage. And that's where the data infrastructure matters so much.
Yeah, and has Salesforce been a key part of helping you kind of manage both complexity and scale, do you think?
Yeah. I think both Salesforce and IBM have been critical to that management system, right? Because, again, we have Salesforce running across multiple channels, but the fact that it is the same underlying system lets us share data about, for that direct B2B e-commerce buyer, he or she, the buyer on that account, is seeing the same information about who shops around their store as the Kroger key account manager or the person who's going in to stock the shelves at Walgreens. We can share the data across them. It simplifies that complexity dramatically by having the same solution across each of our different channel solutions.
Oh, fantastic. So Courtney, you've been part of this journey, transformation partner. I know our friends at Frito-Lay here love you, and one of the big things that you've been helping drive there is how to do this rapid innovation at scale through IBM Garage.
I think, to Frito-Lay's credit, one of the most exciting parts about our partnership is the fact that, Michael, you and the team are very dedicated to the transformation aspect and running the business, but they're equally dedicated to the innovation aspect. Frito-Lay is a quintessential example of an organization that is laying the tracks of innovation for the transformation team to come along and be able to consume. And in that co-create phase of Garage, we've been able to help identify all of the many wow moments. But the problem isn't identifying the wow moments. The challenge has been, what are the ones that are going to drive the business value? And so in that co-create phase, we've been able to help them identify the wow moments that will have the most impact. And in that co-execute phase, when we first started talking to them, we were looking at all of their complexity, and we said, well, maybe let's cut it down in a little bit, and let's try tackling some of these wow moments in bite-sized chunks where we can iterate really quickly and have a big impact. In the co-execute phase, we were also able to use not only our IBM accelerators, but we're also able to use accelerators from our partners like Salesforce, FSL, Einstein, just to name a few of the many that we've employed. And then in the co-operate phase...
But wait, there's more.
There's more. It's the scale element. We've been able to do all of that and reach the 25,000 end users.
Just the 25,000 folks that you have, and what's it? It's called the Sales Hub, right?
That's correct.
I think we have a video of this.
We do.
All right,
Yep.
let's shoot a video. Let's see, roll the video.
Hi, I'm Josh, and welcome to the Sales Hub Cloud. Sales Hub's a revolutionary new app that's going to make your life a lot easier as Dave's. Morning, Dave.
Hey.
Sales Hub is like a hub for sales, but it's in the cloud, which means less need for phone calls, printouts, emails, sticky notes. Just one tool helps Dave easily manage his team in real time. Happening now. That's right, it's happening right now. Sarah made it to her store on time.
Yeah, I can see.
Yay! Sales Hub uses geotechnology, whatever that means, to automatically prompt team members to check in and check out of a location. It also gives Sarah the information she needs to plan a visit effectively and efficiently. She can check store hours, she can see the location, she can even use the planogram, the layout. She knows the tasks she needs to perform, and also allows Dave to upload instructions, coaching photos. Hey Dave, she's using the plan and layout.
Okay. That's what it's there for.
Sales Hub also allows team members like Carl to upload photos, which means Dave can instantly see their work and provide feedback. Hey Dave, Carl's uploading a photo. Dave, I said Carl's uploaded a photo.
Yeah, got it.
When Carl and Sarah leave a store, the Geo thingy prompts them to check out and automatically updates their time cards with how long they were there, which means no more manual timekeeping. And Dave can easily manage things like overtime. Crazy! Oh, hey, it's Ann! Ann wasn't able to complete a task yesterday because she didn't have the materials. So Dave arranged a delivery specialist to drop them off at the store. Way to go, Dave! Thanks to Sales Hub, Dave can easily manage and schedule. He's just added an ad hoc store visit. These guys are good. And that's not all. Sales Hub, where are you going? Sales Hub improves efficiency so you can service more stores. It means reporting accuracy. It means cost savings. It means time savings. It means Dave can take his son to football. It's whoa! You have to see what Sarah's doing. With me.
Sales Hub for Frito-Lay. Needs no explanation.
Dave! Dave! Look what she's doing, Dave!
It's that last Dave that gets me every time. I love that.
Yay, that gets me.
So we didn't produce this video just for this event. What was this video used for?
This video was actually used at our sales launch where we actually rolled this out to the entire field organization. So we didn't have obviously all 24,000, but we had all the frontline managers, so a few thousand folks in. And actually the insight behind this came from IBM of we had to make it simple, the lighthearted, make it seem that it wasn't a technology solution, him making fun of the cloud, him making fun of geofencing, that the technology just works in the background, and that the user experience is so simple that you really don't have to worry about how it actually happens. It just works and it just happens. And to get the folks really bought in to using that technology, you had to have that tone, and that was an insight I think that came from the IBM Garage work that we did with Courtney and team.
Oh, fantastic. And one, I love it because everyone is wrestling with adoption, right? So how do you roll out these solutions and how do you make it non-threatening and get people to really embrace them? And you did, as you mentioned, you make it feel innocuous, like, hey, this is great, this is really simple. Yeah. So a solution like this is really simple, right?
Really simple.
Yeah.
The complexity is not the only piece of it. It was being able to deliver product to both the consumers and the customers and solutions to the employees in almost near real time. And when we first started working with Frito on their journey of transformation and innovation, they were doing maybe monthly deployments. And we had conversations about how to get to weekly deployments, and they said, no, thank you, we won't get to weekly deployments. And we said, no, that's okay. And we can stand up here today and tell you, and I think this is the thing that we're most proud about the partnership, is that today Frito-Lay through IBM Garage is deploying every Wednesday, weekly, to respond to the real-time demands of their consumers, customers, and employees.
Fantastic. Well, there's a lot of folks here in the audience that are thinking about embarking on a journey like this and navigating this. How does a project like this begin?
It begins fundamentally with the consumer, and actually the consumer, the customer, and the employee, right? So we had a lot of discussions on the user experience that we had to enable to get people to adopt it. Right? Adoption is the fundamental challenge, right? We have a culture of, I can get my job done without it, I'm doing my job just fine today, I don't need extra support, I don't need extra help. And then if I do get extra support and help, it better be the simplest possible thing, right? So we had to spend a lot of time with the IBM user experience team and within the garage to make sure that we were giving the user something that was so intuitive and so easy that we didn't have to worry about adoption. So that was how it began. We then had to work with our customers to make sure that the data we had and the data flowed in precisely, because we, as I'm sure most companies, we're dealing with a lot of legacy systems that are feeding in consumer data, customer data, time card data, payment and payroll data. And we had to make sure all of that fit nicely together so that we could actually have something that worked seamlessly the first time out, because if you're rolling it out to 24,000 people and you're doing it in less than a year, which is what we did, and then you're rolling it every Wednesday after that, one mess up and you lose credibility for the whole thing. And so starting with the user experience and then working our way through the details in that agile fashion over the past year is what led us to be successful in the deployment.
So everyone knows, agile helps you work with speed, but doing this at scale, so how do you take, you went from concept to build, and you did that through a whole bunch of sprints, and you did that really fast. What was that journey like?
I think at first it was aligning everyone to the vision, and this sounds like a no-brainer. But when you're working with 10 agile teams, plus innovation teams, plus all of your interface teams, there's a lot of coordination that happens there in aligning to the vision and getting them to be able to push to code or push to production every Wednesday. And I think the synergy really happened, the magic happened for Frito-Lay when we could solidify the vision on the wall and have everyone iterating around where we were going to go within a realistic time frame.
Yeah, and this was a whole new way of working for us, right? So if you literally walk around our area now, all of the boards, all the Kanban boards, the golden threads, the future vision are all up for everyone to see. It's very transparent. Anybody can walk over at any time, see exactly what we're building. The timelines are all up on the board. They can see what's rolling and when. And it's been a cultural shift for us versus what traditionally within, been an IT build. It happened somewhere else offshore or offsite, and no one knew what was coming when. this idea of getting iterative feedback on real-life product is just a completely cultural shift for us.
Yeah, and look, it's an amazing journey. We're so honored and so proud to be your partner on this. Can you share with the audience a little bit about how our partnership is working, how we're helping you transform the business?
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic partnership. I mean, the results speak for themselves thus far. Right? We've rolled out Sales Hub now to, I think it's 20-something thousand people. It's been an incredibly low noise rollout, which is something at that scale you expect. We ramped up our call center expecting a whole flood of questions, calls, but it was such an easy interface that we actually didn't notice any of that. At the same time, our commerce, the B2B side, is growing. We have 90% organic growth. We have 12% customer growth year on year. So the results are speaking for themselves. And again, that is also because of the user experience that we created with IBM Garage's support to make sure that the user experience for our customers who are ordering was just as flawless and seamless and incorporated all the data that they needed to make the right decisions for their stores.
Yeah. So what's next?
So what's next? Well,
are we done? That's it?
Precision at scale never stops, right?
It.
And so we have to continue to delight all of our consumers every single day. And we're not going to be satisfied until literally everyone who's in this room walks into any store and finds exactly the snack that they want, exactly the way they want to buy it, with exactly the package, the right size, and the right price for them. So that's another exponential increase in complexity versus what we have today. And so I think we're just getting started on that journey.
Fantastic. So exciting. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Courtney, for sharing such a great story. How about a round of applause for our great speakers? Thank you so much. Really great.
Thanks.
Really wonderful. Thank you. All right. Well, next up, we've got another client story that we want to share and that we're super excited about, a completely different industry. So I'd like to invite our clients up from the United Way. I'd like to invite William Browning, who's the Chief Transformation and Strategy Officer of the United Way, and Rachel Krausen, Senior Director of 211 United Way. Awesome. Welcome.
Thanks, Paul.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, don't walk too far away from me.
I'm a little bit afraid of you, Paul.
Yeah. And we just met.
I know, intimidating.
My fear was William was going to come on stage and just walk off as a joke.
Done it before.
Not
going to be that lucky.
It would not be the first time.
Yeah.
It would not be the first time. Well, we are super honored. I think everyone here knows the United Way. Perhaps fewer people know 211, so we're going to educate a bunch of folks on 211. United Way has such a rich history, and our companies have such a great partnership. But there's also a connection between United Way and Frito-Lay. You want to share a little bit about that?
Sure, but let me start with a moment of gratitude for everybody out there who's given to United Way. Just a moment of reflection. Thank you. Your actual contribution does make a difference, and you'll see that today. Frito-Lay, Michael, thank you so much. Frito-Lay recently just gave $1 million to the United Way of Dallas for a Thrive initiative.
A round of applause for that. Fantastic.
And on a personal note, I would not have survived college without the classic red Doritos. It just wouldn't have happened. Just no chance at all. And then last but not least, let me thank the IBM partnership. You talk about an amazing partnership. Since 1996, IBM has given almost $800 million to the United Way Campaign for Communities in Need. And that's not including the amazing technology and personnel they give for all of us here at United Way. So we are so grateful for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. A little round of applause for that. I'm really proud that I work for a company that has such a big impact, working with a company that lives to have an organization that lives to have an impact, and you impact the lives of so many people every day. And it's not something that you've been doing just for the last couple of years. You've got such a rich history. Why don't you share with the group, what is the history of the United Way?
Well, it sounds like the introduction of a joke. So about 135 years ago, two priests, a rabbi, a woman, and a minister, walked into the third floor synagogue in Denver,
This is
Colorado.
a true story.
No, true story.
It's a true story.
True story. You can go to Denver, Colorado, and still see the synagogue where this happened. During the silver mining crush, there was the Great Depression, and these individuals actually came together and said, we're going to drop our religious differences and come together for the greater good, and created the first community chest. And I always think about how powerful that must have been, because then religion was the big separator. And I wish, United Way, I would argue, is probably even more necessary now as we try to bring people this imaginary divide we have as human beings, when we really actually care about the same things if you really decompose it. United Way now, since 135 years, we're at over 1,400 communities in 40 countries, serving people in need across the world. So we're really grateful for this rich history, and we're currently going through a transformation, just like Frito-Lay and other companies are.
Yeah. So rich history. You wake up every day, you and your team. I think, was it 1,800 chapters here?
Yeah, approximately. Yeah.
In the U.S. and how many board members?
40. Oh, yeah. So we have a unique position here. So each local United Way has their own CEO, their own staff, and their own board members. So we have approximately 34,000 board members across the United Way governing locals. So as a Chief Transformation and Strategy Officer, my job is actually quite simple, trying to get every one of those people aligned the right way. It's a fantastic challenge. If any of you out there are having that challenge and have mastered that, please tackle me after the meeting because I want to get to know you.
And he means that literally, tackle him.
Yeah, you will have
he
to.
will love to hear from this. It's, again, like another great story of fascinating complexity, and your role is to drive that transformation. So tell us a little bit about the journey you're on.
Well, the transformation is really about, I think you did a brilliant job outlining the cognitive transformation. I didn't have that word before. I didn't know that he was going to talk about that. But it's really about this notion that we move, our business is mobilizing humanity. How do we get each of you to realize you have tremendous power, you can actually make a difference in your community, and you can actually make things happen. You can actually bring things together. I look at Greta Thunberg, for example. This little 13-year-old has mobilized tens of millions of people for climate change. So your power is much greater than you realize. So our transformation is, we're now in this digital experience economy. People aren't looking just for the transaction of the United Way campaign. And many of you, if you've given to the United Way campaign, you know that you start in September and we come in and we charge you up and you do your payroll deduction and we're eternally grateful. But now it's about you want to give all the time. Some of you right now looking at your phones, you're automatically immersed in different experiences. So how do we actually connect you where you are, give you that experience, and then also give you the access to make a difference for your community? And United Way's superpower is that we really know the local community. We know the things you can get engaged with. We always say if you don't know how to change the world, you don't know where to start with United Way.
Fantastic. And so you talked about people using mobile and kind of constantly being connected and immersed. What role is Salesforce playing as one of the technologies you're using to transform?
Well, like IBM and Frito-Lay, Salesforce has been a tremendous partner. So what we've done is we really believe that for all of you that in the business community, philanthropy really can start with business. Business has tremendous power, and you're seeing more and more investors, employees, consumers all looking at companies differently. They're really expecting you to be good. So corporate social innovation and philanthropy is no longer an alternative. You have to be philanthropic in nature for attracting the best talent and really having the best brand. So Salesforce, about 3 years ago, we came together and looked at how do we revolutionize the experience for companies. And so we built the Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud. There's a keynote later today around that platform. And what it does is it allows employees to find the causes they care about, eases the administration of the corporate social executive that has to actually manage things like volunteer and financial giving, and really helps you have access to fantastic content that you don't have to create that does inspire and engage and really activate people. Again, our purpose, mobilizing the carrying power of community. Salesforce as a partner has helped us do that effectively with Philanthropy Cloud.
Can you just restate that purpose again? What's the purpose of United Way?
Mobilizing the carrying power of community. That's our mission.
Just wanted that to sink in with the audience. I just love that mission.
Fantastic place to work. I'm humbled every day I walk in the door.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, we were talking, right, and just both of you, your personal calling to this mission is nothing short of amazing, and the impact that you have on so many different lives. What's your biggest challenge? What's keeping you up at night?
Well, I mean, 34,000 board members
well,
who have
aside for that,
their own individual view of how transformation should work. It's a wonder. No, it's really two things I think that drive. I think Mark Benioff did a pretty good view of this yesterday. Shifting the culture to move from this notion that you have most of the way you've made money since 1956 is one way. So how do you shift to be growth-minded? How do we come to businesses and say we want to be your strategic partner, not your transactional philanthropic agency? So the idea of growth-minded and entrepreneurship is critical. The second thing is really trust. So the power of the network, you think about 34,000 board members, 1,132 CRM solutions, all these assets and data, and really it comes down to data as a key to really drive and build trust. And we've discovered that if you can connect these disparate systems and really harness the power of the United Way network, you really can build not only trust with our own network, but most importantly, trust with the agencies that help us, all the nonprofit. I don't know if there are nonprofit people in the room today, but let me call out and make sure I thank you guys. The real heroes outside of United Way are those that really help us frontline manage all the problems that we see in the communities today. But it really is that ability to connect and harness data that is the differentiator for the transformation. I'd argue digital transformation is almost entirely about data.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, well, Rachel. So Rachel, you lead this thing called 211. A lot of us here are familiar with 911. In fact, a lot of the IBMers here called 911 when they heard I was going to be on stage. So flooded the gates with that.
Sure.
But I don't think everyone is familiar with 211. Just, you want to tell us briefly what 211 is, and then we'll show a quick video after that?
Absolutely. So 211, similar at face value. You can literally dial the numbers 211, and someone, a real human, will answer on the other line. What our job is as 211s is to essentially solve problems for you as an individual, overcome barriers, connect you to services, provide you with information, help the person in need get to the thing that our nonprofit partners are able to provide.
Yeah, and you mentioned people in need that dial this service. Let's see a quick video of how 211 works every day and has an impact, positive impact on the lives of people.
Hello, hello. I need help with my furnace. It's broken and no one can help me. I can't get around very well at all since my hip replacement a few weeks ago, and you know how cold it's been. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? I don't know if I can stand one more cold day here.
Hello? Yeah, I'm in a lot of trouble here. I'm really scared. I'm getting kicked out of my apartment and I have 3 little kids. Yeah, I'm a single dad. I lost my job in September and I'm so behind on bills and rent. I have no money at all and I'm holding an eviction notice here in my hand. I can't get kicked out. I don't know what to do.
I just wanted to say thank you. A repair service called the day after we talked and they fixed the furnace. The heat is wonderful. I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
I am so relieved. You got my landlord to stop the eviction. Me and my kids are gonna be okay. You don't know what this means to me. I'm so grateful to you guys. I don't know what I would have done.
Awesome. Well, I promised you I wasn't going to cry on stage.
I
But
understand. I try to avoid it on a daily basis.
yeah, I was trying to look up. So just don't call attention to my tears.
Well, Paul, it's important to understand that those are not actors. Those are actually real calls that were recorded. So they're not fictitious. I think
That's what
power.
gets me, honestly, emotionally
Absolutely.
about it. It's like, seeing people in real need, so vulnerable, so desperate for your help. How long has 211 been around? How did the United Way come up with this idea for this service?
It's a great question. So I would guess that the core of what 211 does has been around since the beginning of United Way, if not longer. For as long as there have been programs and services in a community, someone has known about them and helped other people find them, right? But we didn't start using the number, the 3-digit dialing code that makes it so easy to get to us until 1997. The United Way in Greater Atlanta got the use of that code in Metro Atlanta and started using it for what was a 1-800 hotline they were operating. And it was brilliant. And so a lot of other United Ways and other nonprofits across the country started creating those same types of lines. And today there are over 200 211s across the US.
Okay.
Lots of United Ways, lots of nonprofit partners, a few government agencies.
Yeah.
And we collectively have about 13 million conversations like the ones you just heard every year.
Wow, 13 million conversations. How do you scale to handle something like that, particularly with the nature of what you're dealing with there? You're not dealing with kind of simple, quick fix stuff. You're talking about real life problems and challenges.
Right, they're complex challenges. So the biggest, the most important piece of 211 is that there are people who are local experts. They're in their communities, they know people in their communities, they know what's available in their communities, and they know how to help the people in their communities. So we have those 200 centers talking to people 24 hours a day, whether they're in crisis, whether they have a simple question that they just can't find the answer to, or they have a challenge that has 7 barriers along the way, from now to assistance. But similar to what William described for the United Way network, all 200 of those are independent organizations. They have their own staff, they have their own boards, they have their own technology systems that are disconnected from each other, which means managing that not only experience, but the data is really difficult. And that's what we're really focused on from a national standpoint, is being able to collect all that local expertise and knowledge and unlock the power of that even more.
Fantastic, and enormously complex in order to do that. You talked about the experience tied to data, and your vision is to transform the experience for all of those local experts, your specialists. I think we have a little demo that we're going to show.
Yes, we do.
Little live demo. What could possibly go wrong?
So what you're going to see in this demo is a prototype. We worked with our partners at IBM through the same IBM Garage process and started thinking about what the current experience of a 211 specialist is, the person answering the phone, what a United Way leader is doing with 211 data or the availability of the service, and what the client experience is on the other end. And what we've been looking at is what happens if we pull all of that data together. We have 950,000 organizational records about services that are available in the US. We have 13 million data points about what people need. So if we bring all of that into one space and we layer things like Einstein and Watson on top of it, we can actually start to see more real-time, more robust information about what's going on. From a specialist standpoint, that means we can shorten some of the manual processes for them.
Yeah.
So what if instead of having to ask 15 questions, I can ask 8? What if instead of having to go through a complex taxonomy of resource records to find the program I'm looking for because I don't know if one opened yesterday or closed yesterday, there's an alert system that says, this person might be eligible for this financial assistance service that we found out about yesterday. Ask this question, refer them to this. So on the specialist side, it's not about automating it entirely. We have to have people, right? Those conversations are happening with people.
Yeah.
That's what they want. But we can make it easier and more effective and allow us to potentially talk to 30 million people instead of 13 each year.
So that concept, that's what we would refer to as creating intelligent workflows. You optimize the process, you're augmenting the human capability, so you're making your specialists more effective, more efficient at what they're doing. They can have a bigger impact.
Exactly.
Right? But there's something bigger, though. William was talking about this, I think, in some of navigating some of the complexity is, it's one thing to make the process more efficient, but how can you help avoid some of these calls, like using the data and the analytics to maybe get ahead of some of this?
Exactly. So at a partnership level between 211 and United Way is where that really starts to come to fruition. So a United Way leader has the ability to make community investments, to galvanize partners, to advocate for policy change that can really impact the types of calls we're seeing. So again, if we had all the data, if we have the data about what's happening in real time, we have the historic data, what if the United Way community leader could see that based on the data about not only our own calls and client records, but the weather and the cost of living in the community that's going up, that a particular neighborhood is at risk of having 20% more evictions in April when power companies start collecting on bills than last year, right? So instead of, or in addition to, someone on the other end of the line answering the call about the guy who's a single dad and just got an eviction notice, what if 3 months before that, our local United Way leader can look at that information and go to the community leaders and say, to the synagogue leader, to the church leader, to the labor group, we think that this community is at higher risk of evictions this year. Help us, work with us, to help those people. Can we start a fund? Can we connect them to services earlier? Can we make sure that things like food expenses, where there are programs like SNAP available, can intervene in that, are available to them to avoid an eviction 3 months later? That's how we get ahead of homelessness and all those types of chronic systemic issues.
Yeah. Well, I know you both well enough to know that you're never satisfied, right? So William, I know you want to scale this even further. So How do you think about scaling this?
Well, I think I always like a story, and Rachel alluded to it. Anna was 17 years old, 26 weeks pregnant, and on the streets, homeless. So she called 211, and we were able to, through United Way and our partner agencies, get her a job, get her shelter, get her training to actually be a first-time mother. And those of you that have been a parent the first time know how difficult and challenging that can be, much less when you're 17 years old and homeless. And actually got her a job through her GED. And that's a story that's amazing. But the real question we ask is, how could we have prevented Anna from being on the street in the first place? So the idea of really scaling this is not just on the 211 side, but really looking at how do we actually invest in solutions that really can solve the problems and actually are much more holistic? How do we challenge the fact that the notion that maybe smaller government and less funding on some of these programs is probably not a good idea, that we can actually show data that better public policy is a good way to go? And how do we actually leverage data that for each of you, we can make sure you're investing in causes that matter, but actually are really effective and high performing? And so those things all come together. If you think about a data ecosystem, my dream is that we can actually tie together the donation, the donor side of data, the customer data, with fantastic impact data and make it really synergetic so we can actually become more of a catalyst for investing in the things that actually make a real difference for people in need and actually be somewhat more predictive about it.
Yeah, well, we've been honored and humbled to be your partner. Can you share a little bit about the role that IBM's been playing?
So let me say this. I mean, I've talked about the financial side. So when people say to me, what does the IBM partnership mean to us? I can certainly talk about money and technology and volunteers, the amazing volunteers that show up and actually are fantastic. But I think what IBM has done for us is really provides hope. It provides hope for the operator who has to stand behind the 211 and take calls that are seemingly impossible to solve sometimes. It provides hope for the community at large. And personally, it provides hope for me. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I don't know if those of you who have children, the world seems like a pretty scary place if you're thinking about a young child right now. And I feel like IBM, I get up every morning and I see companies like IBM and Frito-Lay and so many others of you step up, stand up, and actually deliver. So for me, the IBM partnership is an example of what's good, what's healthy, and an idea and a company that can help us actually solve these problems which are not intractable and not unsolvable. And with that, I'm very grateful for our partnership, Paul.
Well, thank you so much. It's like I said, we're honored and it's humbling to serve you in such a great organization. If you ask 380,000 IBMers all around the world, like why did they choose IBM? Why did they work for IBM? It's because we believe we can change the world. Working with organizazations like yours is exactly how we can do that for the better. Thank you both so much. Really, really wonderful. Absolutely. Thank you. Awesome. And for those of you who want to get involved and help make a contribution for 211, you can text Team 211 to 41444. And that's up and running right now if you're so inclined. So with that, I just want to say thank you all for coming to this super session. I hope you heard a lot of the challenges, complexity, the excitement of how companies are reinventing themselves outside in and inside out, all at the same time. We have great thought leadership for you while you're here at Dreamforce, so please stop by our booth if you want to pick up a copy of State of Salesforce. We could also help you download a copy of our C-Suite study that we mentioned here, and also go into depth with you on what it takes to build a cognitive enterprise. So with that, I want to say thank you again, wishing you a great Dreamforce, and please grab some snacks on your way out the door. Thank you.